Hello, I'm Carrie Gard, and welcome back to Tea Time with Tech Marketing Leaders. I am so excited for today's show. What a treat for y'all. What a treat. Before we dive in, a little bit of housekeeping. If you are live here with us, please comment. If we are picking this up asynchronously, absolutely comment, because don't you worry, we will circle back with everyone. It's the power. It's the power of being live. If we can hear from you in real time and answer your questions we will answer your questions throughout the show. I'm going to find my moments to pause and to dive on in and make sure that we get those questions answered. As I mentioned, if we do not get to your questions in the show because there's just too many, that would be a dream come true. We will circle back at the end and make sure that we answer those asynchronously. If for any reason, it's clearly a new script and I'm getting used to it. It's all happening in real time. Today, I have the wonderful Aileen Casmano back on the show. She was with me a few years ago where we had such a powerful, wonderful conversation about FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt, and how it did not belong and does not belong in our marketing and messaging. She was one of our first to start pushing this mindset, and I'm so proud to see how so much of the industry has really evolved and adopted it. So hats off to you, Aileen, for making that happen and being on the forefront. Today, we're going to use a bit of that messaging, but not for marketing, but for our mindset and how to reframe things through uncertain times. Aileen, I'm so excited to have you here. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you, Carrie. I'm so happy to be here.
So before we get into our conversation, you've had an incredible career from being a founding marketing hire at Cyvatar to your current role, to your previous role at Visio Trust, and a founding team member, Visio Trust, and you're being a founding team member of Cybersecurity Marketing Society, which is a wonderful, wonderful group. If you are not part of it, go hit them up and get in there. It is awesome. But where are you today? We need an update. What's going on over there?
Sure. Should I dive into it?
Yeah, tell us, pick up where we last left off. You were at Cyvatar where we left off.
Yes. So I was at Cyvatar for a little over 2 years, helped build out the marketing and go-to-market function there. Then I went on to join a Series A startup called Visio Trust. I was the first demand gen hire lead there, and got to work with our awesome head of marketing, Jenny Duong there. We were there for 2 years. We, again, built out and scaled the demand gen and marketing function. And unfortunately, in July, I was laid off from Visio Trust. So I just started my new role on Monday at Blink Ops as the director of demand gen, which I'm so grateful and happy and loving it so far. But it was my first layoff. So I went through that roller coaster and of emotions and feelings. And we're going to talk a lot about it today because I want to spread positivity to other marketers experiencing a layoff, but also share that you're not alone and it doesn't last forever. So I never thought I'd be excited to talk about it, but now that I'm on the other side, I think it's important to talk more about it.
Definitely. We are going to dive into all of that. Way to rip off the Band-Aid and give the game away. I'm here for it. Before we get there, though, I know you're all on the edge of your seats. Start thinking of all the questions you have for Aileen and get them ready. Because right now, why don't you share a challenge with us in terms of what you're currently facing? You just started a job. What's going on over there? Easy, hard, easing in? Are you diving in? What's the vibe?
I would say I'm diving in, but I'm being intentional about it. I'm really taking the time to understand, what exists and what needs to be built from the demand gen, side, using data where I can as a source of truth, and just asking a lot of questions. I'm telling my manager, just put me on meetings, let me listen, let me ask questions. So yeah, just trying to dive in and just incredibly thankful and grateful for this new chapter that I'm starting this week.
So we're day 4?
Day 4.
Day 4. Awesome. Well, we'll be circling back with you to hear how it's all going. I can't wait for that. In terms of going back to your story though, and last July, you said?
Yeah.
Laid off. Okay, so walk us through what happened. Was it just a company-wide decision? How did that go down? Because that's always an interesting story of how companies handle that news. So what
Yeah.
was yeah,
It
how did
was,
it unfold?
yeah, it was a company-wide layoff, so it affected multiple departments. I had a few days of heads up that the layoffs were coming. I wasn't sure if I would have been affected or not. But I started mentally preparing myself, um, talking to my family members, friends, my partner, like, just really trying to take care of myself mentally first, because it's a really scary concept to grasp that there's an end to your benefits, your paycheck in sight. And so first and foremost, I tried to put my mental health first, and then on the other side, like a plan, like from what I know, what can I do to start prepare financially, for this. So yeah, it sucks. I loved working there. I loved my coworkers. And I didn't get to see a lot of things I put in place. I didn't get to see those through, which I was bummed about.
Yeah.
But we all leaned on each other, everyone that was affected, and people that were still there. And we still have, lasting relationships beyond the layoff. So I'm happy that it brought me that as well.
Are you guys all still like, have you stayed connected through the whole experience, or was it just initially and you fell off? What sort of you're still talking?
We're still talking. We had a group chat going. We were sharing jobs with each other. As some of us got new jobs, we were, trying to recommend jobs at our company to each other. So it was really just like a support system, sharing the ups and downs of interviewing and navigating a very uncertain job market. So I have to say, every company I've worked at, I've left with lifelong friends. So it's yeah, thankful for them.
Absolutely a blessing. So that was July. So what did you said you made a plan. How did what initially went into that plan, and did you actually execute that plan, or did the plan totally change?
Yeah, initial thoughts were, I mean, I was just, when it happened, it was, how can I take care of myself mentally? Um, you know, you start to take it personally. I'm not, I wasn't good enough. I wasn't smart enough, a lot of narratives going on in your head. And it's simply just not true. It's a business decision. And I took it really personally. I'd never been laid off before. So I was like, well, there's something wrong with me. Like, they would have kept me if they really, cared about me and whatnot. So the first thing I did was find someone to talk to, like a mental health therapist to navigate, one has experience and helps clients navigate layoffs. And so I'm still working with her today, because I just started to have a lot of negative self-talk, negative thoughts. My confidence was really low, and that was affecting me from, um, moving forward, right? And trying to focus on the future. So I'm really glad that I seeked that help out from the start, because I think if I didn't, I would be in a different spot today. Um, I leaned on my friends and family. I cried on the phone with my mom a lot and my sister. And the plan was just take care of myself, and then, okay, financially, like, what areas can I cut back on? Figure out unemployment, stuff like that. So yeah, that was the kind of immediate action plan. Things changed over time, which were in a good way. But I would say if I could look back and change one thing, it would have been to take some time before looking for a new job. And I did start consulting right away. And I mean, like literally the week after I got laid off. And I really wish I'd given myself at least a week or two to grasp and process everything, because I think I was just trying to forget it happened and just throw myself into doing other things.
Mhm.
And I think I needed some downtime to process it all.
That is a really good insight because I do find that it's really hard to sit with really hard feelings, and so we find it easier to keep moving and avoid
Right. Avoid
versus
feeling.
So you went into consulting. How did at what point did you decide to get that mental health specialist, and when did you start facing some of those feelings?
Yeah. So initially, right away, while I still had health insurance, because I did get a severance package that my health insurance continued for a certain amount of time. And thankfully, I found someone that worked with me. We figured out an agreement of when my insurance went away, so that I was able to continue to still get that counseling. And I know not everyone is in a position like that. So that was like my saving grace, honestly. So I highly recommend it if you're in a position to do that, just even if it's once a month, having a safe space and someone to coach you through and give you tools that you can use to just get through everything was so helpful.
I have a coach. I've had a coach for the last 3 years. Before that, I had a mentor, and I also am a big believer in therapy. So, yes to that safe space. If you're it's you definitely wanna be able in my experience, I haven't been laid off, thank goodness, so I'm not speaking from that place, which is a whole other world I have, hoped to never experience, and I'm so I can't imagine. Um, but for the things that I've gone through, having a space outside of my family has been huge,
Yeah.
um, because they get into the thick of it with you and they feel with you, and that's good, and you need that, and you need somebody who's can create space where they're not in the thick of it with you and they can help you reframe that. So talk to me a little bit about what that coach sort of taught you in moving through and sort of facing those feelings and then getting over the hump.
Yeah. So, like I mentioned, I had a lot of negative thoughts and negative self-talk in my head about the layoff, and like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to find a new job. They're going to look at the layoff as a negative. And layoffs are so taboo still. People say they aren't, but
Oh.
they are. And I was just like totally beating myself up. Like,
I wanna
I'm not-
pause there.
yeah.
Tell me more about why you feel like it's still very taboo, and tell me about we need to I hope everybody's listening, we need to fix that. So what made you feel like it was people were still thinking of it as taboo or still thinking
Yeah. Past experience working with people and hiring and looking at resumes and LinkedIn's. I mean, within the last year or two, I've heard people I've experienced people deny candidates, not want to move forward with them because they were laid off. Yeah. So experience that on the hiring end, and then I was on the other side, right? And I'm like, oh my gosh,
Mhm.
this is like a nightmare. How am I going to, what story am I going to tell? Like, it was almost like I felt like I had to fabricate why, like defend myself. Um, and that's not authentic at all, right? And
Oh.
I did tap into the Cyber Marketing Society, and I joined cyber job therapy calls, which are biweekly calls of a group of people in the community that are experiencing a layoff or just looking for, their next role, and learned I wasn't alone in that. But going back to the tools and working with the therapist, I think her first and foremost, like her priority for me was like, what are you going to do to take care of yourself? What does that look like? And that for me was limiting, screen time and scrolling, and incorporating
Beautiful.
mindfulness into
Mhm.
my life. So I started a daily gratitude practice in the morning,
I
like
love
5 minutes or less. And she would send me certain prompts or gratitude, like meditations and practices to use. I would write down what I still do every morning now, what I'm grateful for. It could be like the cup of coffee that you drank, or the color pink, or the smell of a flower, right? But like
that.
finding pieces of your day that you can be grateful for with this like this doom that you're experiencing. Um, I started journaling my feelings, and honestly, the talk therapy just helped. And like, she has other clients that she works with and has helped them navigate a layoff, so she kind of knew what to expect and had tools and practices lined up that really helped me. I think too, the biggest, like one of the things I struggled with was that like imposter syndrome. And I was getting myself really worked up before interviews and really nervous and anxious. And that was hindering my performance in the interview because I was so anxious. And so we incorporated routines that I would do before interviews, to really settle in and ground. And that looked like deep breathing exercises, making sure I was emotionally ready and prepared, making sure that I did my due diligence to prep for the interview, and had answers to questions like prepared and top of mind. And so that was just like invaluable to like helping me get to a confident minds, helping me get to a place where I was confident. And it took a lot of time. It did. I was just knocked down.
Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, I know of so many stories of people being laid off, and it does take that initial sort of pummel, and then you gotta pull yourself up from your bootstraps. I love the breathing aspect because it's so underrated. I When I first moved to Guernsey, it rocked my system really hard. I didn't even realize it. And when I finally found a therapist here, the first thing he made me do was breathing ex he's like, "You're gonna breathe like it's your job." Like 5 to 10 times a day, you're gonna sit, you're gonna breathe
Yeah.
for 7 in and 11 out, 5 times, like 5 to 10 times a day. Ready, go. Like, homework
Yes.
assignment. You're gonna breathe. And honestly, like, wow. I was so surprised at how much calmer I was, and I could
Yeah.
feel and I could be just by that. The other thing I love when I feel like I have to walk into a moment like an interview is the superwoman pose. Apparently, there's been studies that show that if you stand in the superwoman pose for like a few minutes before you walk into any sort of important meeting, your confidence like
Really, I have to try that.
yeah, it's your posture's changed, you're upright, you're making yourself big,
Yep.
and you're breathing, and it's all those things, and, yeah, so that helps too of if you've ever seen Ted Lasso?
Yes,
Ted
yes.
Lasso
I
fan?
love Ted Lasso.
Yes, so when she talks about making yourself big,
Yep.
right? You know, looking in the mirror and, like, really making yourself big to take up that space and, you know, find those moments of empowerment as you walk into those meetings. I love those tips and tricks. They're underrated and they're awesome. So I love that you sort of had a little bit of a routine of that breathing and that calming before you entered those meetings.
Yeah, and I don't want, for those listening, I don't want you to feel intimidated by like building this crazy mindfulness practice. Like, I'm talking 20 minutes before an interview for that like mental prep and breathing and grounding, and then for gratitude, a gratitude routine, 5 minutes in the morning. Like, nothing crazy. I'm busy too. Like, it's
Mhm.
possible.
Yeah, studies show with gratitude that when you can it grounds yourself in the moment of feeling your environment around you and thinking about something positive as well. So there's been huge studies showed that it helps tremendously in your mental health. I think it was Brené Brown. I heard it from, I don't know if that's the original source. It's obviously not the original of like where gratitude came from, but I know I heard her talk about the research on that. And I think that's really helpful of, again, just how it's all about grounding you in the moment and helping you feel present, to be able to tackle anything.
Yeah. And it
I
really
love
did help. I noticed like every day I became an inch more positive, like about the interview I had upcoming or applying to jobs. Like I'm still working on it today. I'm not like fully, but I literally like felt each day improvement, little bits of improvement. So highly recommend it. It also, you really start to appreciate what you have, especially in a time of loss or layoff. Like you really look at what you have that's solid, and you're like, God, I'm very lucky. I have a roof over my head. I have a car. I have nutritious food. Like you really start to appreciate it, because being laid off, just like you experience how quickly something can be taken away from you. So
Yes. Yes to all of this. In terms of so I don't wanna, like, sit in that for a second.
yeah.
Yeah. No, we do at MKG, I love this, we do every Friday, we've been doing it forever. Uh, uh, we end our Friday retro with gratitude, where we all go around and say one thing we're grateful for, and then one of our employees started doing something personal and something professional, and so now we do we do one personal grateful, one professional grateful, which is
Love
nice too, because you get to, hear where other people are at, both personally and professionally too, so sharing your gratitude with others, I would also highly recommend. So if you know of somebody being laid off and, to
that.
take a moment and share a gratitude moment with them of asking them what they're grateful for. And it's just, yeah, it's nice to be in that moment together. So, so many great tips and tricks here of how to find mindfulness in a really hard time. As you're coming out the other side and you're getting into some more interviews, talk me through that transition of, you know, you said it was sort of the you were sort of gaining an inch every day. Where did you finally see like, "Oh, it's working?" Did you have an aha moment of, "Oh, I actually feel kind of better. When did that happen?"
It totally correlated with my performance in the interviews. So in the beginning, when I first started interviewing, I was overly anxious because my confidence was so low that I was almost sabotaging the interview,
Oh.
like
Mhm.
before I even had a chance. Like I was just so anxious and like nervous of the interview, and how the layoff was going to come off to the person interviewing me, and like that I feel like I was, in turn it was affecting my performance. And literally as I started using the tools from counseling and incorporating them over time, I was getting more interviews and progressing more with those interviews. I would say it took from like July to um, probably October, November, to get to a spot where I felt stronger and confident and didn't wake up every day like doom and gloom. Oh my gosh, this is like I'm going to be laid off forever. There's no end in sight. Um, I also started learning. I was just taking any interview I could get in the beginning. It was like a trauma response, right? Like, oh, I need a job. Like, I'll take any job. Um, and working with my counselor, she was like, you don't want to end up in a similar position that you were in. Like, now is a great time to reset and really think about. And she had me list out qualities in a company and in a role that I wanted. And if we agreed that if a company didn't align with that, whether it be after like the first or second interview, I wasn't going to move forward with interviewing with that company. And that really helped me put my time and energy into like value, like companies that I saw myself at. And it helped me manage my time better and like prepare better, and focus on like potential opportunities that I actually wanted instead of just taking interviews and progressing out of like a feeling of desperation.
Did you find yourself turning down a lot of those? Like, or
Yeah,
did
there were like I would get reached out to by recruiters, and I would just be like, yeah, let me take this. And I found myself turning down recruiters, like, hey, this company profile just doesn't fit what I'm looking for. Or after interviewing with the team, whether it was like culture fit or whatnot, just feeling like, yeah, I'm not this doesn't match up with what I want. So
yeah, that's awesome. What a reframe to be able to really think. So what kind of companies what were some of the attributes you were looking for when you were going through the interview process to say, "Yes, this feels good," or "No, this is a terrible idea"?
yeah. So I did not want to be the sole marketer or the first time marketer, like no marketing team starting from scratch. Been there, done that, and it was interesting. Not saying I don't want to do hard work. I'm just looking to expand my marketing portfolio and skill set with more established demand gen and digital programs. When you're the first time hire, usually it's very like entry level foundational things. So that was one. Another was I really wanted a mentor in marketing, or mentors. So CMO, senior director, VP. I wanted people above me that I can continue to learn leadership skills from, strategy skills. Um, and that comes down to a culture fit, and work style fit and leadership style fit. So I would ask questions in interviews about leadership style, dynamic of the team, and could get a feel for if it was someone I wanted to learn from and work for. And then those were like big ones. I mean, there's company demographics, things that I had on my list. Stage of the company, employee size, whatever they could share with me about the maturity of their revenue and their sales team. So yeah, so those were some other things on my list.
What I love is, I've had so many people on the show over the years, and I met so many of you in person at Cyber Marketing Con, and it's just so cool to see so many people know what they do and don't want. So there are so many folks out there who do want to be that first hire. They're like, "Yes, I get to build from the ground up. This sounds awesome. I
Yep.
get to put a team together." Like, there are lots of those folks. And there's also folks in your position too who are like, "I want to be part of something bigger than me that's already underway." And what I loved about something that you said was that the mentor piece, I think, is just underrated.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that a lot of people think about what it could mean in sort of working with not only a bigger team, but to have the right folks above them that they can connect with. So what were some of the attributes in terms of that leadership that were important to you to say, "Oh, I can totally learn from this person. This is going to be great"?
Yeah. Hearing their sort of vision for the role. So instilling autonomy in me and the other team members, ownership, autonomy. I didn't just want to join and be told what to do, or follow a set of bullet points on a job description. That was one. the mentality that, we don't expect you to know everything and know how to do everything, but we expect you to put the effort in to figure it out if it comes up. Um, Throughout the process of interviewing, like, I felt like there were some, hiring managers that everything demand gen, you need to be an expert at, and I wanna I just, like, wanna ask, engineers or product managers, like, are you an expert at everything you do? I doubt it. Um, there's obviously familiarity and experience that I have with all parts of demand gen, probably every part of demand gen, but would I call myself an expert at every single thing? No. I, bring in experts like contractors or agencies or hire, more team members if that's a possibility. And I have my area of expertise, but I wouldn't say I'm an expert at everything because that sounds like a tall order to fill.
I feel like, everybody has a superpower in
Yes.
terms of marketing of what they're great at, but to ask my I love telling this story. I was in the kitchen with my husband the other day, and he was asking about our marketing efforts at MKG, and I was explaining to him this sort of content motion that I was getting going, and he's like, "Okay," and he just left the room, and I was like, Are you okay? Like, oh, we're done here? Are you okay?" And he was like, "There's just too many moving pieces." So, yes,
Like, I
welcome to the
can't
wonderful
grasp
world of
that.
so, yes to that. I mean, to get a demand gen motion in motion takes a huge amount of resources. Not say from an expense standpoint, but just like you need the right people who know the right thing to get the right thing going.
Right.
Um, so yeah, I just needed to double down with you on that one. That's insane that they expect you to know everything about everything.
Yeah.
No to that. Um, in terms of how you found your current company, what was the sort of aha moment of pick me," or "Hey, congratulations, I'm picking you." What was sort of, when did you know you wanted to be there? And then what was sort of the vibe and walking into, like, thinking about your journey of, the layoff? I mean, that's a 6-month journey. That's an evolution in terms of how we can change in time. So what from where you were feeling when you first got laid off to that experience of feeling like you found the thing,
Yeah.
what was
I
that?
remember people saying like, you'll find the right company for you. Like if I got, if I made it to final rounds with a few companies and didn't get selected, obviously. And everyone kept saying like, you're going to end up at the company that is meant for you. Like you don't want to end up somewhere where you're second pick or whatever. And I feel like it really did happen like that way. And I didn't believe it while I was going through it. But now that I'm again on the other side, it's couldn't be more true. Um, I, I think what was most like helpful in that through that process was the feeling, like it's that gut feeling almost.
Mhm.
Obviously the recruiter reached out about the role and it sounded exciting and I agreed to learn more. And with each person I met, with each step, I sort of checked in with myself after and was like, am I excited about this? Like, am I dreading the next interview or am I like, let's get this next interview scheduled? Like,
Let's go.
like, I want this job. And with Blink Ops, every person I met got, I got more excited and it got better. And I got just being able to hear, like, get deeper into like what the job would entail and who I would be like interfacing with and some of the immediate projects. I got more and more excited. And I just kind of felt in my gut like that it was going to be the one. Like I tried to not get my hopes up too much, but I had a feeling that they felt the same that I did,
You
same way that
just
I did.
gotta vibe. Gotta
Yeah,
follow the vibes. the good
Felt like we
vibes.
were on the same page with a lot of our strategy, like mindset, cultural, like definitely culture fit, like felt it right away. Um, so yeah, I would say it was a feeling and also a skills match, strategy match, mindset match. So
Did you feel that way about any other company where it didn't go through? Or was this the one and only, like, checked all the
um,
boxes?
I felt so I was interviewing with a company outside of cyber this fall, and um, their process was like literally 10 rounds, and I made it to the last round. And I was like, I had to do a presentation, and I was like, I've got to have this. Like, they wouldn't have strung me along to the 10th round. Like, and I knew someone that worked there, and she had referred me, and I, I felt like I was the top pick. Um, and it just came down to like industry experience. They were looking for someone. It was a MarTech company, and they were just like, honestly, we wish we could bring both of you on. It just like the need for this role. Like we just want someone with industry experience, so that they can just like onboard and move quicker. And it was disappointing because I was like, well, you've known this all along. This isn't a
Yeah.
surprise. I get it. Like you know, you need options. There's never like the perfect candidate, but yeah, I would say there was one other company that I had my hopes up about, but I'm happy that it didn't work out because I'm happy where I ended up.
What was the difference in feeling between the 2 where, like, because it just sounds like you thought you had the other one, 'cause why I agree, 10 rounds is
Yeah.
I thought we were getting away from that, folks. I'm a little disappointed that
No.
we're still having this conversation, so but that's a different podcast. Um, so was there a different feeling between those 2 of where you felt like with this one, this was definitely going through and this was it and this was awesome? Or was it still a little bit of those jitters, a little bit of taking the feelings from the previous one and bringing that into this one? Or did you like
Yeah, I would say I was just like, uh, I didn't wanna get my hopes up. I didn't wanna I wasn't 100% sure because I was just like, anything can happen, right?
Yeah,
There could be 4 people in the final round. I don't know.
no idea.
You're only basing your guess off what the recruiter is you're hearing from the recruiter. I would say given my like background and I was in the same industry and at similar sized companies, I felt like I was, had an advantage. I didn't know what I was up against, but yeah, I think like when you're knocked down and like it's you kind of you do still doubt yourself a little of like, am I good enough?
Yeah, that yeah, oh man, unpack that all day. It's that
Yeah.
imposter syndrome is real. I love where you are though in terms of your mindset, and kudos to you for doing the hard work. It is hard, I know I don't wanna say we're sugarcoating it, we're definitely not, and maybe we're making it sound harder than it is. I loved what you said in the beginning, Aileen, of like, don't be discouraged by, what we're talking about. It's easy to just start with these baby steps of gratitude and breathing and all that helps you towards a better mindset, you being a wonderful example of all of that. But it is the consistency and the waking up every day and putting that one foot in front of the other. That is tough work. And so hats off to you for making it happen and for the joyful place that you're in. I can feel it. I can just feel
Yeah. I don't want to sugarcoat it at all. It was a roller coaster. I had my days I cried to like I said, my mom and my therapist. Like it was not easy by any means. But I think what helped was hearing success stories from people, from peers, from people in the community, reading stuff on LinkedIn. LinkedIn was like it was a good and bad. It was a necessary evil for looking for a job, but also I would come across these posts that people I wasn't even connected to that would post like, I have been laid off for a year. I've been through 100 interviews
it.
and I still don't have a job. And I had to like separate myself from LinkedIn and put boundaries around using LinkedIn because I would read those posts and spiral from them. So, like I said, you need to take care of yourself and like
You do.
make sure
And you
that
do.
you're doing the things to support your mental health.
You do, and you did, and it's awesome. I wanna pivot to understanding in terms of your success story of how you found your job, but before we get there, I think we need to spill the tea on what's going on because, it's a different conversation, and this is like a perfect spot. Perfect
Yeah,
spot. A
we're
perfect
spilling
spot.
the tea in tea time.
We are spilling it. It's gonna be awesome. So Aileen and I met at Cyber Marketing Con in Philly in December and had a mind meld. And I'm gonna let you tell the story, Aileen, because it's really yours, and I get to be along for the ride and support you in it. So yeah, what are we up to?
Yeah, so Carrie and I were catching up, and I was kind of sharing where I was at, and I hadn't had my offer yet for my current role, but I was just like, I have this idea of not only for people laid off, but also for marketers in general of like having a conversation around mindfulness. As marketers, we're under an extreme amount of pressure and stress with KPIs and goals and spend and budget and ROI. And also in being in tech with layoffs. And so I was talking to Carrie and I was just like, I have this idea, this like pull to do something with mindfulness and marketing because of sort of the practices that I implemented in my life with being laid off, and even before being laid off, like just the burnout I have experienced, and like not taking care of myself and just letting pressure and whatnot, kind of wreak havoc on my anxiety and stress. So I was sharing this with Carrie, and I was just like, maybe a podcast or something, or a LinkedIn live. Like the conversation just needs to start happening more around this. And that's sort of how this episode came to be. She was like, come on the podcast. And yeah.
That's where we are. Well, we are starting our own show called The Mindful Marketer, and it kicks off on Monday with the wonderful, wonderful Anthony Vieira, who will be joining us as our special guest. And him and Aileen will share their journeys once again on the path to success in finding that job after being laid off. So you'll be able to rehear Aileen's story. You'll get to hear Anthony's story. And then from there, we're going to have one a month, and we are going to bring on experts around mindfulness. It's not going to always be about marketing, which I think is great. I think we get to take a brain break from thinking about our jobs for a minute, and we get to hang out with really great people who do this for a living on a regular basis. And we just look forward to bringing you resources about how to tackle your jobs, which are really hard, and to
Yep.
tackle the in-between spaces of when you're finding that next thing. So we are stoked. Please join us. I will drop a link to the episode after this show, and then you can go and join the event, and we will see you on Monday, which is a holiday in the US, MLK Day. So it's a perfect day to hang out with us for an hour and have a cup of tea and get ready for the week. So we look forward to seeing you there. Hi, Kathy. Thanks for joining.
Yeah,
Awesome.
just to add on to that, we'll be bringing on, other marketers to share their stories, their mindfulness practices, and then also we'll be looking to bring on therapists, counselors, coaches, mentors, and bring resources and tools to marketers to make them more successful in their role, build their confidence, manage stress, and just have resources to leverage to stay happy, healthy, less anxious. So if you're interested
Yeah.
in, if you have a story you want to share, or if you're interested in coming on, definitely message Carrie, message both of us on LinkedIn, or one of us, doesn't matter. And we would love to talk to you about it.
Love, love. DM us for sure.
Yes.
Um, before we, I was about to read Kathy's, before we Um, call it a day here, Aileen. I could talk to you forever, and I'm looking forward to continuing the conversation on Monday. But I do want to share the success side of your story. We talked about the mental sort of gymnastics you did through the journey of the 6 months leading into your job. But how did you find your current position? What was sort of the process you went through in getting to work with Blink Ops?
Yeah. So I had read a ton about optimizing my LinkedIn profile for recruiter, searches and talent sourcing and whatnot. So I did some work on that once I got laid off. Like updated my headline, updated my roles and what fell under them, and really tried to tie numbers and ROI to programs I've built. And that resulted in a ton of recruiters reaching out to me, which was really exciting. And so the recruiter that was working with Blink Ops had reached out about the role, just good old LinkedIn DM. And obviously, I researched the company and the founders and the CMO and everything. And it was a match, which was really exciting. But I throughout the process of interviewing, I think having a community you can tap into for I was in the rounds with a few companies in the cybersecurity marketing society, which I would have loved to work with had this not worked out. Reach out to people that you've worked with, like old coworkers, ask them if their companies are hiring. There's so much value in building a network in times like this, that usually can be a good shoe into a new role.
Yay, networks. Yes to that. And cybersecurity marketing I mean, what a wonderful group of people. Gianna and Maria have really taken that and run with it. It's
Yep.
awesome. So hats off to them and good call on really tapping into your folks. I don't know organic stories quite like this in terms of finding a job. So what a moment to take a leap and send a DM. And it sounds like there's so many other DMs you probably sent leading up into that moment to so many other companies. Had you optimized your message, which just happened because somebody you knew? Like what do you
So
feel like?
to clarify, the recruiter reached out to me, but it was because I optimized my LinkedIn
Okay.
profile for the role that I wanted. So I made sure to have a really strong headline. Um, that was like a term that a recruiter would search to source candidates for like a demand gen role. I made sure to go back and update each job I've been at, have like outcomes that I produced for them. Um, and there were like tweaks here and there. Mimi Gross is a great resource to optimize your LinkedIn profile. She's a recruiter slash coach for hiring and talent sourcing. So that was that. After I did that like profile optimization, I definitely saw an uptick in recruiters finding me and reaching out to me for roles that they were hiring for. So I highly recommend doing that, and it's free to do. It's not like a paid feature or anything in LinkedIn. Obviously, the recruiters pay to use the recruitment tool, but for you as an individual, it's completely free. And LinkedIn can just be like really powerful with for looking for a job.
Got it. So thank you for clarifying that. I man, what I how, I imagine you get hit up by recruiters all the time. So like how did you know?
Yeah,
You said do you do research every single time that a recruiter would hit you up and then this one was, happened to be the right fit? I mean,
correct.
that feels grueling.
Yeah,
Is
and
it?
there were a ton of examples where I reached out, a recruiter reached out to me. They would do the screening call. I would do like an interview with someone from the team, and either I wouldn't move forward or they wouldn't move forward. And then I would get reached out to by another recruiting agency, different recruiter for that same role. So I started to develop this negative mindset around LinkedIn recruiting practices because from experience, over the last few months, there were some really just like meh practices going on that I was experiencing. But I gave it I did my sort of due diligence on the company before I agreed to move forward, and I had a fantastic experience. It was through Stanton House, and they were very professional, communicative, like just fantastic to work with. So very happy.
Don't hear many great recruiter stories, so yay for that. Yay for
Yes.
that.
Great.
And it sounds like you definitely had a few doozies leading up to that, so thank you
Yeah.
for sharing the company. Oh, so good. All right, Aileen, we are gonna be chatting on Monday at our, Mindful Marketing podcast. I'm so excited. I can't wait. Grateful for Anthony for joining us. Before we go, where else can people find you? They wanna stay connected, they wanna learn more about your journey. Where can they?
Yeah, LinkedIn. You can message me, request me on LinkedIn. If this episode resonated with you, if you're going through the motions of a layoff, or just looking for a new role and want to chat and swap stories, please reach out, DM me. Part of my sort of mindset going forward is paying it forward. So many people helped me out in my community and my network while I was laid off, so I want to pay that forward now. So
Amazing. Amazing. And we're going to pay it forward on the show. We will have tons of resources for folks looking for jobs, from job boards to connections to all of those things. So that will be part of our movement over there. So definitely come hang out with us. Last question for you, Aileen. Joy, what is currently outside of work, which I know is probably a little hard to think about because you're probably absorbed by your job right now as it's new. But outside of work, what is currently bringing you joy?
I'm getting married in August, so wedding planning is, I think, bringing me joy. No, it's great. It's exciting, and there's so much to look forward to. But yeah, it's really exciting, and it's bringing me a lot of joy. I obviously do event planning in my career, so being able to apply that to like a personal project is really fun. Picking out colors and color palettes and mood boards and whatnot. It's bringing me lots of joy.
Yes.
Thank you,
Where
Elijah.
are you getting where are you getting married?
We're getting married at a farm in Connecticut. So it'll be like rolling hills and cows in the background, and yeah, just fulfilling all of my vision that I've always had.
Oh, so farm weddings are so pretty. I cannot wait to see pictures. I will be stalking. It'll be great.
I'm very excited.
Amazing. Oh, thank you for coming back on. Thank you for choosing me as your co-host partner in our upcoming show. I'm stoked. Cannot wait. Everybody, I cannot say it enough. You're probably sick of hearing it. I don't care. Join us on Monday. It's going to be wonderful. Join us on Monday. All right, here we go. Thank you so much for listening. If you liked this episode, please like, subscribe, and share this episode. Please like, subscribe, and share to this episode to help us reach more amazing viewers like yourself. This episode is brought to you by MKG Marketing, the digital marketing agency that helps complex brands like cybersecurity get found through SEO and digital ads. It's hosted by me, Carrie Gard, CEO and co-founder of MKG Marketing. Music mix and mastering wizardry done by the amazing Elijah Drown, my podcast sidekick. And if you'd like to be a guest on the show, I'd love to have you. DM me. Let's hang out. I look forward to sipping and spilling more tea with you next week. Alla pushing.